Instagram and TikTok today. If you can't tell, we're in a different room. And in the Halloween spirit, I thought I would share some of my Hollyweird industry stories. There's some TikToks that I think are kind of interesting to hear about the Hollyweird, especially with everything that's going on with P. Diddy and a lot of celebrities being tied to very egregious things. So hopefully I don't get demonetized. So happy Halloween. Hopefully this comes out on Halloween like I planned it. And we're just gonna get into it. So a little backstory about me in like LA. I have a lot of familial ties. I didn't grow up in downtown in LA. I grew up 30 minutes from downtown LA, give or take, on a good day. I live in San Gabriel Valley, and downtown LA in general has always been very important to me. My sister's half Japanese. Nisai Week was a very big thing for me when I was little. My great-grandfather built a lot of the buildings. He had lunch with J. Paul Getty, if you don't know who that is. That is the, or would you say, founder of the J. Paul Getty Museum. You know, he would have lunch with him. And he'd always, plant the trees downtown as well. So my great-grandmother, before she passed away, she knew all the back streets of going to the hospital that she went to for her doctor's appointments in Koreatown. No GPS, nothing. Just by memory, she can name all the streets and tell you how to get there very fast. So that's kind of my background with LA. It always makes me laugh when people say that they moved to Hollywood. And a lot of these TikToks that you'll see that I'll put in here talk about Hollywood and how it's just a very dark place, and how it's demonic and XYZ, whatever. It's a very bad place.
Episode 1000 of the weirdest and scariest shit that happens in my life. I just had a company reach out and want to clone me. This is not a joke. This literally just fucking happened. So last week, I got an email from a brand and they said, hey, we work with other influencers that have over 1 million followers, and we recreate them as an AI program. And they were pitching it as if, oh, we would love to create an AI version of you so your subscribers could talk to you, ask you for advice, go to you for, random story times. And you would send us 30 videos of you spinning around, looking in different directions so we could recreate, an AI version of you. And they told me that I could make $70,000 in 1 week. That doesn't sound right. When I say not all money is good money, let me share with you guys what I found. So first, after doing a little bit of research on this company, they actually recently had a scandal with one of their influencers. That AI that they're claiming would be sharing story times and giving advice, somebody paid this girl's AI to say the most grossest, raunchiest, nastiest shit. So after seeing this, of course, I ignore the company. Why would I want to go through with that and get caught up? Then they go ahead and email me again. And this time they actually sent me a couple of links of influencers they were working with. So I do more research. I download Telegram and I click on the link to go ahead and talk to one of these girls' AIs. And immediately it asks me, what is your sickest, twisted fantasy? Let's recreate it. So this company is telling me, oh, we're going to use it for story times and talking to the girls. No, bitch. They want to use you to sell disgusting content without your consent. And in case y'all don't believe me, go ahead and pause and read. And if you literally look that girl's name up in the email, you will see the scandal. These companies are fucking gross. And I have so many more experiences to share with you guys, but this is something that literally just happened. Y'all want more stories?
Sometimes I think I miss Hollywood. And then, I walk around at night like this. And I realize, no, this place is demonic. It's like the devil's soul lives in Hollywood. Like, you can feel it. Like, if you have any God in you, like if you're spiritual in any way, anytime you're in Hollywood, you feel sick. Like, you feel uncomfortable. There's like literal devil here. Satan lives here. Like, I can feel it. Like, I feel so uncomfortable. I just want to go home so badly. The devil himself lives here. I don't care. This is where he packed his stuff when he left heaven. He didn't go to hell, honey. He came straight to Hollywood and resides here. I cannot believe I spent 10 years on this block. I cannot believe my soul didn't go with me.
Nobody ever talks about the dark energy of Los Angeles. And if you're from here, you're exempt. You grew up here, it's a different situation. But if you're not from here and you've moved here, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's cool at first. Mansion parties, palm trees, celebrities everywhere, Lamborghini Uruses driving around all the time. First, you're like, yo, this is lit. But when you're done with all that, you done seen every celebrity, you went to every mansion party, you done seen every car. You just kind of want to settle down and chill. That's when it starts getting real dark, because I've been here 5-6 years. I'm from the DMV. And at no place ever have I felt like I've been home here. Like, it's a nice place to live. I love it, but I don't feel like I'm at home. I always have that feeling in the back of my head that I'm not doing enough. I don't got the nicest car. I don't have the nicest house. I'm not making the most money. And you can never fight the feeling because you go outside, you see some 18-year-old driving some brand new Porsche G2 RS, and you're like, what am I doing wrong with my life? And I done seen it happen to too many people. I see people from other places move here and become a completely different person because society tells you in Los Angeles, you got to be that perfect person. You got to make the most money in the world. And if you're not, you're behind. I always feel like I'm behind here no matter how much money I make. And I don't like the way it makes me feel. And that's not everybody's experience. I understand it. But for me, I'm like, Los Angeles is the type of place where you come, you finesse, you get the money, you get everything together, and you get out before it consumes you. Because if you stay too long, it'll get you.
No normal person would move to Hollywood. Just like being completely honest, like no normal person would move to Hollywood. People who move to Hollywood are either transplants or people who live there are living there because it's familial. Hollywood is really not made of Angelinos, barely anymore. You know, it's mostly made of people who, like I said, are transplants from states like Wisconsin or whatever small town they come from, and they think they're going to get famous as soon as they step onto Hollywood. And that's not the case. I think this brings me into my story that happened recently last year about this time. It really has disturbed me a lot. We're just gonna get into it. So me and my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, we found a place that was located in the Alhambra Rosemead area, and it was a sublease with this girl that my husband knew because he used to live there actually while we were in college for a bit. You know, knew the roommates, and then that's how we knew her. So she was subleasing. She's an aspiring model, does modeling stuff. She was going back to her hometown. Now the house is very dated and not very old, but like old, probably like 80s or something. I don't really know. It's in a duplex. When it was nighttime, it was pitch black. Like the area in Alhambra and Rosemead is very old. The San Gabriel Mission is not too far away, and just the whole aura of the city is just a tinge of yellow, a tinge of gray. Even on a sunny day, it's just very weird. Something's off about it. Like everyone's saying about Hollywood. What do y'all know about Alhambra Rosemead area? Because it's very strange. I just can't explain it. Like it's just not, something's not right there. Anyways, so we were very happy we found this sublease, and we had like a huge master bedroom, whatever. And we're going to call her Sarah, the one we're subleasing from. She said she's going to go back to, we're going to say Wisconsin. She's going to go back to Wisconsin for 5 months, and that's how much the sublease is. So we move around September, gonna leave about January. And by the time it was January, I could not take it anymore. Now the other roommates are both men, and everyone in the house does something in the music industry. This has to do a lot with the industry, just people trying to make it, trying to do what they need to do, whatever. There's this one night, my husband used to work at the club, and he would come home pretty late, and I would stay home. Most of the time I wouldn't really go out because I was scared to go out because it was so dark. My husband wakes me up in the morning, and he turns to me and he says, "I heard chanting last night." And I was like, "What do you mean you heard chanting?" And during this time, Sarah had come back, and we didn't really know that she was back. We just saw her show up in the kitchen. So it was very confusing why she wouldn't let us know that, like, she's back again. It also was kind of weird because we were in her room, but there was an extra room, and then she ended up staying in the extra room next to our other roommate's room. It's a very big house, okay, so it's confusing. But he told me that there's chanting going on. I was just confused, and I was laughing, and I was like, "What do you mean there's chanting?" And he said, "I don't know. It's about like maybe 3:30 or 4 in the morning because he just got home and he was getting into bed, and he heard chanting. Like this girl, another other girl in the house was Sarah, and he heard like chanting and like just saying the same thing over and over and over and over again, but he couldn't make out what this person was saying." I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. Our roommates did ski, if you know what I mean. I was like, maybe they're just tripping on something. Like, you know, maybe it's just, I don't know. I didn't know what to think. Okay, I didn't know what to think. But my husband was like pretty shook about it, and that made me shook. But my husband gets scared of a lot of things. So I was like, okay, whatever. Then strange things started happening in the house. She ended up leaving again. When my husband went to work, he would go to work about 8 p.m. and it was so dark outside, and it's just it was not okay. And the two other roommates during this time, Sarah left and the two other roommates were out of town. right? I was the only one in the house. And I heard footsteps coming like up the stairs to my door. And luckily my dad had changed like the lock because he wanted us to have the key and make sure that like no one can like come and take our stuff or whatever. It comes to the door and I thought it was my husband because I thought he forgot something, and usually just come up, I'll hear the keys jingle and he'll open the door. And the space between the door and the floor had a very large gap. Like you could literally hear everything. There's like literally as if no doors there. You can hear the person come up to the door. I can see the shadow, like someone is standing there. Just like how my husband always, like it just reminds me of him like coming up to the door and I know that he's coming in. Except this time I didn't hear no keys jingle. So I text my husband, I say, did you forget something? And something just told me not to open the door but text him first. And he said, no, I'm at work. So I'm freaking out. I'm telling him, I heard someone come up the stairs. Like it sounded like someone was standing outside the door. So he's like, oh, that's weird. Let's see if any of our roommates are home. None of them are home. So sometimes we would go to my parents' house and go visit or whatever. And we would come back and our room is on the second floor. We had a balcony and there was an empty room, okay? An empty room next to our room and the light was on. That's when our roommates weren't home. I never went in that room. My boyfriend at the time, my husband never went in the room. That's kind of odd. These things didn't start happening until my husband heard the chanting. And I was like, oh, this is so strange. Like, I just can't explain it. I don't get why this is happening. But she did have a kind of shrine in the bathroom with a monkey statue that had its eyes like this, kind of like the see no evil monkey. And then it had some incense and some money that I didn't know what denomination it is, but some money from a different country. So I thought to sage the room because I was like, I don't like this at all. Like, it feels weird. I don't feel comfortable staying here. I just think that was one of the scariest things that had happened to me that I couldn't explain. And I do believe that people do rituals to try to get famous. They do try to conjure up things to try to get to where they think they want to be. I think that she wanted us out of the house. And why I say that is because there's just too many things going on in that house after she had done whatever she had done. Whether it was skating or not, you know, I know that one of our roommates, he also was making me uncomfortable because I found out he was in a pretty big band. They played at the Fonda, and I think they're pretty big still, an indie band. And he got kicked out of the band for allegations with a girl. I think it had to do with an underage girl, or being like abusive to one of them or something. And it just made me super uncomfortable. But it's just like the whole industry is like that. Like, you cannot meet a single, especially men, who have not done or have allegations against them. And it's pretty sad. And it's very stressful being a femme in the industry, whether it's modeling, music, fashion, art related, cinema, filmmaking, whatever it is. Tiring and it's exhausting. And a lot of people who talk about like Hollywood and their experience, like I said, normal people don't move to Hollywood. Like, it just seems like a lot of these people who are talking about Hollywood on TikTok, it just seems like their plans kind of backfired on them because they had this mindset of just this glamorized version of like Hollywood, and like their expectations are probably very high and very different than what they got. And someone on TikTok actually said this, that they said something along the lines like, oh, they're only saying this, sorry, my camera's shaking, they're only saying this because they didn't get to where they needed to be, and they're only saying this because they didn't make it. But they still have a decent sized following. The commenter, if I can find the comment, I'll post it. And there's just a lot of strangeness in Hollywood in general. And, you know, people are unaliving every day due to the use of fentanyl and just other related drugs. In that, there's a huge drug epidemic as well as a mental health crisis epidemic, which LA experienced a lot of. And it can really take a hold of you, and it can really warp you and really suck you in if you're not careful enough. If you don't keep your head leveled, you can get sucked in really easily into these things. Not even just like occult stuff, you know, just mentally always having to be on, always having to network, create content. It just feels like it's a never ending thing because everyone wants to be an influencer. Everyone wants to be famous. Everyone's just, you know how many people you can run into LA right now? Go on Melrose or Fairfax and ask any guy with a hat, and they will tell you they are a creative director. They won't tell you who they are creative directing, but they will insist they're a creative director. Anyone can pretend to be an influencer, and anyone can pretend to be anything in Hollywood, which is like the fakest place you can be, the worst place you can be. It's just not for people who have good intentions. If you had any good intentions regarding yourself or other people or your life, you would not be in Hollywood. I think Simply Nessa is one of them that talked about her story about being in Hollywood, and she says a lot of things like she stumbled upon a bathroom while she was at one of these parties and saw something that she shouldn't have seen and she wishes she didn't see. These experiences are probably super horrifying to the people, and I empathize with that because no one deserves to be uncomfortable or made to be coerced into something. I'm not blaming them for that. I'm just saying that a lot of times the people you surround yourself with will reflect who you are as a person. This dichotomy that Hollywood has of the super poor just lying on the street and then the super rich influencers, it just makes the whole city strange. It's very, very strange. The whole thing with the fashion industry is very interesting too, because I've walked LA Fashion Week. I just walked LA Fashion Week, and meeting some people, you'll find a lot of people that, they're trying to figure things out and they're trying to start their career, that's the only way you can start is just by doing things, But there are a lot of people that are just so self-absorbed. This one girl comes to mind. I walked with her at LA Fashion Week twice. The first time I walked and the second time. I usually walk for brands that are more alternative and goth because they seem to be more diverse in their body types. I just had a baby, so I've been very self-conscious of my body, and I didn't think that they would want me to walk because I grew like 3-4 times the size of myself. This girl, she's just so desperate to be liked and to be famous, and it's just that desperation of it. It's just a very it just makes me not want to be near you. I can tell your intentions. I can tell you're very self-absorbed. I can tell that you're all of these things just by the way that you act, the things that you say. And it's very common in the industry, and there's so many things that are transactional as well. And it seems like every single relationship about Hollywood in the industry is that people will use you, no problem. People will use you and it will pretend to be your friend. They will whatever. It's sad. There are good parts about LA too, just the culture and whatever, but a lot of these people who are talking about Hollywood, it's just why would you even move there? Why would you move there in the first place? I didn't get it. Have you watched anything besides La La Land? Have you visited Hollywood? Have you walked the streets of seeing guys swinging machetes in the air? Have you seen the needles on? We just don't have the resources. We don't have the things that we need to get people, to help people. There's just so much mental health crisis in downtown, a drug epidemic crisis that not everyone in the industry is this evil, dark person, but there are very few people who you can actually, I would say, trust very lightly. Personally throwing shows and stuff, just knowing that people just look out for themselves. The music scene, the LA music scene is very small. And there are a lot of people that don't like me. I think speaking the truth, even as we see in the case of P. Diddy, and just people coming out about his parties and just people coming out about certain celebrities. Are we really surprised? I even think Rick Owens and Michelle Lamey's, they're very strange, and we'll get into a deep dive about them later, but I think they are the human embodiment of what people think Hollywood is. They very much are Hollywood. They very much are the people who run things as far as the industry. They're very involved with the fashion industry, and I just think it's really strange how they are connected to everyone. There's just so much mystery about Michelle Lamey and just the whole thing with her and Rick Owens and just her upbringing. These people that are making it in the fashion industry and just the entertainment industry in general, there are people who did come from nothing. Paul McCartney being one of them that just comes to mind real quick. Michelle Lamey came from wealth, and just fast forwarding to the day, that's pretty much how you make it out in LA. If you're a transplant, you must be a trust fund baby or something. Either you sell your soul, which seems to be a lot of the cases, or you're a trust fund baby or a nepo baby, or you just got lucky, which is a very few percentage. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people who work hard to get to LA and to move, It's unrealistic to say the least. And it's just yes, there are very dark things about LA and the city. I experienced a lot of dark things. Been places that are very seedy, that just even my first first performance that I did downtown. I was very young. I was probably 18. It was my first like performance at a fashion show. I ended up not even like playing anything. This man who looked like an actual, it's so like a pimp, like what you would think like a cartoonized pimp, like a popped collar, velvet, like pantsuit, smoking a cigar, fedora with a feather. Like it's so like I couldn't even like, you know. And he's telling me, do you got a boyfriend? And I did have a boyfriend time. He was actually with my dad waiting for me. And I said, yeah, I do. And he was all like, why do you look so sad? And I was just like, well, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. I haven't even played yet. I'm starving. Like, I just want to play my music. And he was all like, well, do you want to make it in the industry? Like, I can help you, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, my boyfriend's over there. Like, my dad's over there. Like, I'm going to go. And it's things like that that are just like super good thing. Like, my dad and like my boyfriend at the time was there because I would have been so scared. And he like literally pulled me aside and just like told me, and just remember like the cigar breath he had, like breathing on me, just very grimy. It just felt not safe. It just comes with the territory, and it's like sucks to say like this should just be expected. There are a lot of horror stories with like models and stuff that are, you know, they're trying to get their foot in the door, and the photographer tells them like, hey, do you want to come model for me, whatever, and they end up getting SA'd. They end up getting taken pictures of themselves undressed, and it's just this whole thing, and it's just very scary to be in the entertainment industry. It goes much larger than P. Diddy. It goes much larger than the Hollywood elite. It's just a very small portion of what happens in the higher up. I'm looking forward to see how it pans out. Also anxious to see how it pans out and just who's linked with who. It just seems like everyone in Hollywood was in on it. It seemed like everyone knew what was happening, was complicit with it, and just let it happen. And a lot of this stuff has to obviously do with not only women, but children that are defenseless and they can't help themselves. And Justin Bieber was a child at the time, and where was his family? No one helped him. Just, you know, having people who will look out for you in this industry is like very hard to find, very important at the same time, because you can get sucked into everything and be consumed with getting likes, getting views, getting whatever you think is going to help you. And it doesn't become about creativity anymore. It doesn't become, you know, it's not about art anymore, creating things and just doing things because you like to do them. It's more of transactional things, how you can get above someone else, how you can XYZ, just try to, you know, I'm just rambling now, but yeah, that is the end of today's video podcast thing. I don't know if I might do this again. I kind of want to talk about Michelle Lamy and Rick Owens. Will probably be the next video, I'm hoping. Happy Halloween, and I hope this video goes out in time because yeah, but we'll see. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
I don't know, yeah, you act like you know everything, or you say you can't feel a single thing, say you didn't feel it when you get